from beautiful Bali. Today's edition of Behind Bali Abundance. This edition is a little bit personal, but I will share it with everybody. Things were coasting along well with working from home with my business because I felt quite comfortable, I guess. I didn't have any overheads for the business. So if it didn't work, it just meant I had to go back to the office and back to my job. So it wasn't such a big risk. But in 2010, my marriage fell apart and we were divorced in 2010, but I still actually took 6 months to tell our children. That was the most difficult part. And in that time, I had to think about what I was going to do because we still had 2 children at home. So I needed to support 2 children. I also had all of the stock in our home. So my business could no longer run from home. So I really had it was actually getting a divorce in a way was the catalyst for growing my business. Because I don't know, well, it's an unknown whether I would have had the courage to then move to a warehouse, but I really had no choice. So my business was just taking off, money was starting to come in, and I just thought, I can't go back to the office, I'm just going to take a chance. So I started to look to find a reasonable warehouse to rent, but I was so scared because I had to rent a house as well, because when you sell a house, we had a beautiful home in Moonee Ponds, but when you get divorced you only get half a house, so I could no longer afford to live there, and my younger son was still at school. So I decided, just until I worked out what I was going to do, I'd rent a house. So first of all, though, I had to get the warehouse to get the stock out of our home so that we could sell it. We couldn't even present it for sale with how much stuff I had in the home. So I found number 6 Hercules Street and took out a 2-year lease on that. And that's where my new journey began. And over that next year, or that year of 2011, was probably one of the most difficult years of my life. I was trying to run my business from the warehouse now, but also I had to present a house for sale. So once we got all the stock out, I prepared the house, and I love doing that, but you've got to have the time to keep it spotless every day. And then once we eventually sold the home, and then it was packing up. So again, I was pushing myself and working till 3 a.m. And I found myself, and probably when I look back, it was probably so I didn't have to deal with the emotions of it. I just threw myself into my business and packing up that house and worked like a crazy woman for about a year. Arlene was now working for me. We had our own little office, so just Arlene would come in a couple of days a week and do dispatch. And I also needed someone to help me in the warehouse move furniture. And 2 girlfriends suggested that their brother would help me on a weekend. He was good at putting furniture together, and so for a slab of beer, he'd be happy to do that. He worked full time. So this was Jeff, who's still with me. So he did start to help me out on weekends for slabs of beer. But then eventually he said he'd be happy to work if as the business grew, if I could give him 2 or 3 days, he would leave his full-time job. So eventually that's what happened, and Jeff is still working with us today, 2 and 3 days a week, or sometimes 5 when a container comes. So Arlene, Jeff and I were the original little team, but I'm very grateful now that we've got an extended team, and especially when I come to Bali, my A team, as I call them, have everything covered. So I guess my business is something that made me feel like I was doing something good, and just, I guess, helped me learn to love myself again and find out who I was. I'd been a wife and a mother, and now I guess I was on a journey to explore who I really was. Each trip to Bali as well, I would find healers, or I think the universe was sending different people to me that helped me along the way, just to understand myself a little bit more, and to give me strength to focus on this and to keep going. So I'm really grateful now for my divorce. My 3 children have all adjusted to the new situation, and Steve has a lovely new partner. Also, Steve helps me now. Like once it took a while, but I eventually got rid of all of the anger. He often will come in and help out at the warehouse, and we're fine. We're friends. So it has all worked out okay, but I guess I'm grateful for that situation. It's made me who I am today. As a lot of you will know, it's often, you don't realise it at the time, but those tough situations you go through are often what brings you up to a whole new level, that you look back and think, wow, if that didn't happen, I may not be here today. So I may not be in this beautiful little joglo in a bud if that didn't happen. So it's a part of my journey that it wasn't great at the time, but I don't regret it. And I hope that's helpful to people that are going through that. Just keep going forward. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.